Hey, I'm Landis, and this is my wife, Chelsea. We live here in Denver, Colorado. I serve as a pastor here at Riverside Church. Chelsea works at a kids consignment shop in Arvada, just the next city over. Well, we've been here in Colorado for almost 6 years now.
Our first date, like official date, we were gonna go to dinner and a movie in Lynchburg. The movie theater is in the shopping mall. And so we had to walk through, I think it was Belk.
Yeah, it's real ghetto. You go into the mall and you have to walk through the mall, and then you eventually somehow end up at the movie theater. But as I was walking through like Belk, I saw these really awesome blue jeans. Not blue jeans, but they were jeans, they were pants that were colored like royal blue. And for whatever reason, I was like, I've got to have these. And I tried them on.
They were on clearance for $9.90.
And I don't know why I decided to do that.
So literally on our first date, I'm waiting outside the dressing room while Landis is changing pants. And he comes out and he looks so ridiculous, and they did not fit him whatsoever.
A little snug.
So we asked the nice lady at the checkout to pick a picture of us.
It's like our first legit picture together, and I've got royal blue pants on with like a white collar shirt, and
I had bangs that covered my
Oh, shit, I like
forehead.
that.
It was terrible. And then we went to the movie.
Yeah.
We have 2 kids. Hannah is our oldest. We had her the first year of our marriage. And I mean, like, I was pregnant 6 weeks after getting married. We got pregnant. And so we haven't had a family without any kids.
yeah, we pretty much. I mean, that's
Started right out the gate. And so she is 5 years old. And she is your typical girl. She loves to color and draw and play princess. She is sassy and bossy and
yeah, just like Chelsea. So
has the biggest heart of anybody and is so
sweet.
sweet and sympathetic and kind.
What? I did
And then Jack is 3. And yeah, he wasn't planned really either, as far as that goes. But so so Hannah's 5, Jack is 3, and he is all boy.
100% boy.
Just everything a boy is into, Jack is into. So he loves sports. He loves football and baseball, and we go golfing on my off days together.
Burn it? Show Mama how you burn it.
And he's just, I mean, just if it's dangerous, if it's dirty, he's for it.
He loves to climb and run and be animals.
Yeah, he's gonna break a lot of bones. We're gonna take many trips to the hospital with him.
Yeah, and he doesn't ever stop.
Yeah.
So we had a 3-week checkup appointment for Jackson, and I took him and Hannah, because Landis was working, to this checkup, just like a normal 3-week-old appointment. They were taking his weight and his oxygen, and they noticed that his oxygen was really low, but they thought because he was just squirming so much because he's a baby, that's what it was. And so we sat in the waiting room for probably about 45 minutes while they tried to take his oxygen level, and it kept coming back at 53, 52, and 51. And the longer we were waiting, the lower it got. And so within about 10 minutes of taking that last reading, they brought a oxygen tank and put oxygen on Jackson. While I was holding Jackson, he had his oxygen, and while they were trying to distract Hannah, with bubble guppies on YouTube. I remember that. And they were calling a ambulance so that they could transport him to Rocky Mountain Children's Hospital so he could get further assistance. He was on 100% oxygen at this point, and they put him back in his car seat. The ambulance came and picked us up and took us over to the hospital. As we walked through the emergency room, they took us straight up to the ICU. And we sat in the ICU until a doctor came. They came and did IVs, all those tests, the gas levels, oxygen levels, everything, and upped his oxygen to whatever the highest was at that point. And his oxygen level never really rose past 55. And so for a couple days, or not a couple hours, they watched him and tried to evaluate what was the best step. And eventually Landis showed up, and just a few hours later, the PICU nurse, or the NICU nurse, came in and said, hey, we're gonna transport him over to the NICU and get you guys evaluated for further testing. He had RSV, double pneumonia in both lungs, and a upper respiratory. Yeah, that. And so they were super concerned with all of that.
Really, I think when they rushed us over to the ICU, I guess I started to realize how critical it was, and kind of how bad Jackson was actually doing. It went from pretty much me thinking this is no big deal to we might actually lose our son pretty quickly.
And it wasn't until the point when the doctor on call looked at us and said, your son's going to die if we don't put him on a ventilator.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it got really serious for us, was that everything we were doing wasn't helping him.
When the doctor came in and told us that they're gonna put him on a ventilator, everything just started happening so fast. A ton of nurses and doctors just flooded into the room, and they kind of pushed us out into the waiting area. And at that point, I think we both thought that Jackson was legitimately going to die. And so we just kind of held hands, cried, and tried to pray all at the same time. And I think, at least in my mind, I just was preparing myself for the absolute worst, and just a ton of emotions were just flooding into my mind and heart, and just, I'm not exactly the emotional type of person, so for me to really show any type of emotion or especially cry, that was a big deal. And
we weren't just crying, we were weeping.
Yeah.
Uncontrollably sobbing at each other and at the situation, and just continually asking why and where did this happen? When did this happen? When did it turn? Why did it turn? Why us?
Yeah.
Why Jackson? And I think we both looked at each other and said, how do we tell Hannah, who knew Jackson and understood that he was baby brother, but how do we tell Hannah that brother is sick and possibly dying? I think when you're put in a situation that you feel completely helpless in, you can pray and question and read your Bible. But for me, it was worship music. That really helped. We had our little iPad at the time that it would play continuous, just worship songs. And every time we would play it, Jackson's heart rate would spike to the point where like the doctors would come in because his alarms would be going off and they just questioned what was going on. And, you know, the only thing that I could explain to them was that it was Jesus healing him and making him stronger. But not seeing that the impact that that music had playing constantly in this environment really had power. You know, we got towards the end of everything, and a couple of the nurses came in and just thanked us for being encouraging and being strong during this time. There was one night that they lost a little baby a few doors down, and the baby had died from RSV, and so they knew that I heard everything and was, you know, very close to that situation, that they just wanted to come in and thank me for being a room that they knew that they could come to and have worship music playing, where they're being able to hear Jesus and feel just a burden being lifted off of them when they came into our room. You know, it was encouraging to hear that, but at the same time, I was so angry that why I had to be in that situation to encourage them. And why did Jackson have to be suffering so that they could feel encouragement? And so my faith during this time was so roller coaster, just up and down, where I felt, you know, the presence of Jesus healing our son, but then just being so angry that we were ever in this situation to begin with. Because we did all the right things. We do all the right things. We went to church. I mean, Landis is a pastor. We do all of the stuff to do what we're supposed to. You know, we serve, we love our community, we love people. We teach our kids about Jesus, and grew up in the church, and we tithed every week. And, you know, why was this happening? Why did God have to use us to even just encourage those few people during what was a bad season of RSV?
It was right when the All the Poor and Powerless song came out, and there was the bridge in that song. It talks about it says breath in our lungs, and to see Jackson laying in a hospital bed where he can't provide breath in his lungs for himself, so it's literally God's breath keeping him alive through that machine. It just makes you think about all of your faith in a completely different way. It makes no sense why and how God does things sometimes, where we are in the moment of suffering, and Jack is fighting for his life, but yet at the same moment it is encouraging other people, and we have the opportunity to share our faith with those nurses and those doctors. And we're doing that all at the same time when we're still angry at God, but yet it's just really raw and messy. So many people at that hospital poured into him, and God provided life and sustained his life. And I just want him to know that all of life is really, it's a gift from the Lord. And every single moment, his life is precious and it's valuable, and he is deeply cared for and loved by God and by so many people. And I think there is a little bit of purpose in that too for him. If God wanted to take his life, he would have taken his life. but there's got to be something greater for him out there, that's something he's going to be used by God in some type of way that I think is going to be great.
We tell him that he is loved more than he is understood ever. And so knowing that that even when, in a dark moment when he gets older, that he doesn't understand why things happen or what's going on, that like Landis said, that there's a bigger story to this. Whether it was, the nurse who thanked us for continually showing Jesus, to families bringing us food, to people praying for him, to him having a crazy story.